Bonding. The purpose of bonding is to ensure the electrical continuity of the fault current paths, provide the capacity and ability to conduct safely any fault current likely to be imposed, and aid in the operation of the overcurrent protection device. At the main service panel board that has the initial main disconnect, neutral conductors, white wires, equipment grounding conductors, bare copper or green insulated wires, the metal service panel board cabinet, and the grounding electrode system, or grounding rods, must be bonded together. The code requires that grounds and neutrals be kept separate except at the main disconnect, or the main breaker. If the electric service system has its primary main breaker outside at the meter base, the neutral and ground would be bonded only at that point, not at the breaker panel. When the main disconnect is located at the meter base, the ground and neutral terminal bars must be separate and not connected, and the main bonding jumper must be removed or disconnected. To distinguish between the ground and neutral bus bars on a panel board, an inspector can look closely at their connections to the body enclosure or box of the panel board. Ground terminal bars are screwed directly into the metal body of the panel. Neutral terminal bars are insulated from the panel body. Main service panel boards must be bonded to the grounding system, but there is also a very long list of other components that need to be connected to the ground since they have the potential to become energized by electrical faults. These components include interior water piping, water heaters, around water meters, gas lines, electrical enclosures, electrical raceways, electric outlets or junction boxes, CSST gas piping, manufacturer's compliance, and telephone and cable TV systems. Bonding piping. The metal gas and water piping in the house must be connected to the ground bar in the panel board. This connection is called bonding. The wire making the connection is called a bonding jumper. We bond pipes because if a metal pipe is energized inadvertently, the bonding jumper provides an easy path back to the source so that enough current flows to trip the breaker. Inspectors should check for a bonding jumper wire that crosses over the water meter. Inspectors may observe metal water lines bonded at the water heater supply pipe and metal gas pipe that are as close to the panel board as possible. For a 200 amp service, the code calls for at least 6-gauge copper to bond metal gas pipes and 4-gauge copper for water pipes. Main bonding jumper, MBJ. At the main service panel board, the 2 underground or hot service conductors from the meter base attach to lugs or terminals at the main breaker. The incoming ground-neutral service conductor attaches to the main lug of the neutral bus bar. In a typical electric service panel board, the neutral bus bars are bonded to the service panel board enclosure by means of a special bonding screw or strap provided by the equipment manufacturer. That component is called the main bonding jumper, or MBJ. We use the term jumper, but the main bonding jumper, or MBJ, should actually be a wire, strap, bus bar, or self-tapping screw. If it's a screw, it's usually green in color to clearly show its purpose. The MBJ should not be spliced. The MBJ is the primary connection between the ground circuit conductor and the equipment grounding conductor, commonly called ground wires, where the conductors are usually bare copper or green insulated wire, or the service equipment supply-side bonding jumper, or both at the service. The MBJ connects the service neutral wiring to the grounding electrode conductor, or GEC, and also to the service panel board cabinet. The MBJ is a reliable conductor that ensures the electrical conductivity between the metal parts required to be electrically connected. The factory-supplied bonding jumper screw or strap is shipped disconnected or as a loose component because the manufacturer doesn't know how the panel will be used. If it is used as a service equipment, main electric service panel board, the neutral conductor bus must be bonded to the enclosure. If it is not used as service equipment, the neutral or grounded conductor bus must be electrically isolated or separated from the enclosure. In more modern panels, the bonding connector is required to be through an approved green screw, so it is more apparent to both the electrician, the code enforcement officer, and the home inspector. In the service equipment, and only in the service equipment, at the location of the main disconnect, the grounded service conductor is connected to the same neutral bus bar as the equipment grounding conductors, commonly called ground wires, and possibly one or more grounding electrode conductors. Therefore, the neutral bus bar can function as a main bonding jumper because it is the connection between the grounded service conductor and the equipment grounding conductors. In the main service panel board, the equipment grounding conductors, commonly called ground wires, attach to the grounding conductor terminal bar, which is bonded to the metal panel board cabinet by the main bonding jumper, or MBJ. Attached to the grounding conductor terminal bar in the service panel board is a large, sometimes bare or green copper ground wire called the grounding electrode conductor, or GEC, that clamps to a grounding electrode, such as a grounding rod driven into the earth, or a Ufer grounding electrode, a 20-foot length of steel, rebar, or heavy copper wire placed in the building foundation prior to pouring. If there's a ground fault in the house, the MBJ ensures the current can be safely directed to the ground, away from the house and the people inside. The MBJ provides a low impedance fault current path back to the power supply to facilitate the tripping of the overcurrent device in case of a ground fault. Grounding is the single most important component of a building's electrical system, and the MBJ is the single most important connection in the entire electrical system. At the main disconnect, all neutrals and grounding wires are combined together and connected or bonded to the panel cabinet. If the MBJ at the main service panel is a green screw, it should be screwed down with little to no thread shaft showing. On some older panels, the MBJ screw is not green and may take additional observation to recognize it. In additional distribution panels, sub-panels, the neutrals and grounding wires are not combined, and the green screw, if present, should not be screwed down. You may want to recommend that the MBJ screw be removed completely when observed at any additional distribution or sub-panel that is downstream of the main service panel and main service disconnect.